Ah, and welcome to our next Let's Plot. Today we will be looking at the Evil Queen. The Evil Queen is a very fast villain with not a whole lot of fading pressure early game, but can be quite the menace late game. She has a unique mechanic of brewing poison with the brew poison action right here in the laboratory. And it is just a simple 1 power for 1 poison conversion. This poison is used to defeat heroes with the card Take a Bike. She has 5 copies of it in her deck. They cost 0 power to play, and you'll notice that in her realm, she has a play card at each location, so it can be played anywhere. And you'll need as much poison as that hero has strength. So when heroes gain more strength, you need to play more poison. To defeat Snow White, she's going to need to play one of each of her 4 ingredients, and play and activate the magic mirror. The ingredients are Old Hag's Cackle, which gains 1 power for each hero in the realm. Ideally, you use this for getting a lot of power from heroes. However, your first one should be used to just play it so you can unlock the cottage. It does not do you any good to hold on to it if you cannot actually advance your objective. Late game, though, it is a great power gaining tool. Black of Night, another amazing power gaining tool. The Black of Night allows you to perform any action at your location, even if you've already performed it. A great use for that card is the gain 3 power action. So it's basically a net 2, which is pretty good. Or you can use it to activate again. Magic Tomes, which we'll get to in just a minute, is quite a good activation. Or maybe you have more cards you want to play, and you could just play a card again. 2 ingredients or 3 ingredients a single turn is quite good. Another use for it is the move a hero action, but that's really only if things are not going your way and you need to move heroes fast. Mummy Dust, 1 cost, and gives you 1 poison if you are fated before the next turn. This is very easily the worst ingredient. It is only good to get it out of your hand if you aren't at the discard action, because 1 power is the exact same as 1 poison that you would get if you had just used the brew poison action. Ideally, you want to see predict if your opponent is going to be fading you, but you're not always right. But so I would just play that as soon as you get it. And then you have Scream of Fright. Scream of Fright is the only ingredient I would recommend you maybe not play immediately. It is the most expensive ingredient at 2 cost, and it moves every hero at a location with a strength of 3 or less to an adjacent location. And this is all optional, you do not have to use this ability. So, if you have a large stack of heroes at the mine, you can just move them over to the woods. It is very handy to get to locations that may have otherwise been covered. As stated before, you have a play card at the bottom of each location, so you can always go to a location, play Scream of Fright if the hero is low enough strength, and get those top actions. Very good, especially at the mine for the play card and activate, or the cottage for the fate and discard. You also would want to get that move a hero back, so you can move a hero from the laboratory and a hero anywhere else. Usually you'll want to stack your heroes at the woods. To search for these ingredients, you have 2 really good tools. The first, Black Magic, is a 2 cost effect which instantly gives you any item or ingredient. This is extremely helpful if you are a bit later in the game and don't have that final ingredient. That's when you probably want to play Black Magic. However, early in the game, I actually would not recommend you play Black Magic for an ingredient. Instead, I recommend you grab the Magic Tomes. The Magic Tomes are a 2-cost item, and when they are activated, you can draw the top 4 cards of your deck, choose one to keep, and discard the rest. This is quite possibly the best milling tool in the game. Just activate, 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 and you can get through so many cards. Get through that deck fast, get those ingredients, and you can also get the Magic Mirror, which you will need to bring out Snow White. The Magic Mirror is a 2-cost item with the activated ability that costs 3, and that is how you will bring out Snow White. Now, there is a very small possibility that Snow White is pulled with a fate that does not do anything, such as a pickaxe with no heroes, or the wishing well with no heroes. But this is not a scenario that you plan on. Always try to pay the 3 power as soon as you play the Magic Mirror. So you can get her out, and your Magic Mirror, the main ability, does no longer matter. It also has a secondary ability, which is just a passive. Each time you're fated, you draw a card, and that is another great milling tool. So I would recommend you get this on the board as fast as possible, just maybe not as quick as some of your ingredients. That is really all of her main effects. She also has a few supporting tools, but nothing really as important as the tomes, or black magic, or even the magic mirror to an extent. Her first tool, Alphixia, is another card that allows her to get actions at the top of her board, and there is a player card at the bottom of her board at each location, so it's pretty helpful. And all it does is allow you to take those actions at the top, even if they're covered by a hero. Notably, you can even use this to fate if you are really needing to at the moment. She only has 3 copies, so it's not the most common to see in her fate deck, which is why I would recommend you try to uncover that move a hero action. Yes, it may not be the fate that you want at the moment, but you can use that move a hero action later to get that hero off of the top fate. Or maybe you want it off of the mine. Also good options. Then you have Thunderbolts. Thunderbolt allows you to basically play an ingredient again. And we've already talked about the ingredients before, so I won't spend too long on this one. Early game, you're probably going to want Black and Night for either the power gain or another activation on the tomes. Maybe you're going to need to use it for a Scream of Fright, but for the most part, you should be using it for Old Hag's Cackle. It's free, it can gain you up to 4 power. So, pretty good power gain, because you're going to need a lot of power. Speaking of power gain, you have the box. This is not a good power gain. This is a card you should be discarding as soon as you get it. The box gains 1 power for each hero in your discard pile, up to 3 max. First of all, you should not be having any or many heroes in your discard pile, because it's really not worth it too much to take resources away from your power to use Take a Bite. Secondly, it's only 3 power max, so even if you are defeating the heroes, you don't get too much benefit from it. So it's really not that good. It also costs 2 to play, so you're going to need multiple activations for it to even be somewhat useful. Then you have the Throne, a 1-cost item that allows you to activate to gain a poison. This is an alright item. Good early game if you don't have the tomes out, but if you have the tomes out, it's probably not worth taking the power and the activate action instead of just playing the tomes or activating the tomes. However, there is a very fun play you can do, very fun combo. If Snow White is at the mine, and you have the Throne out, and you are 1 poison off of defeating her, you can play I'll Fix Ya to get your play and activate back, activate the throne, and then play the Take a Bite to win you the game. Very fun, but not really something you should be trying to go for. You should try to have all that poison at at the very start at her laboratory before you even try to attempt to defeat her. Notably, this can also be done with the tomes as well, if you are lacking a Take-A-Bite. Then you have the Huntsman, who's just good for some power saving. Heroes at his location get -1 strength, so one less poison you have to deal with. If the cottage is locked, I would recommend you play him to the laboratory. If the cottage is unlocked, then you should play him to the cottage. The cottage, because that's where Snow White will spawn, and the laboratory, because it is very easy to move a hero from the woods to the laboratory and immediately take a bite for 1 poison cheaper. He does have an activated ability that you can move him to any unlocked location, but it's not a better activated ability than the tomes or even the throne, since the throne just gives you the poison outright. And now her conditions. Jealousy. When another player gains 3 power, you get a poison. It's pretty good, but not worth holding on to. It's worth playing. It is just handy to have and very good to threaten with if you are only 1 poison away. But it is not worth holding on and not getting to important cards that gain you the power outright, like an Olhec's Cackle. Then you have Vanity. If another player has 2 or more items in their realm, reveal the top 3 cards of your villain deck. Discard any, place the top on back on top in any order. Very handy for milling. You should really only be playing back on top the ingredients you need, the mirror, maybe a take a bite if you need it, tomes if it's early, but it probably won't be early if they have 2 items, and maybe Thunderbolt. Other than that, it should all be going in the discard to help you mill. And that's pretty much it for her villain deck. She is a very simple character to play. Just always remember, you only have 5 take-a-bites, so be careful on how many times you defeat and how many times you discard. Same thing with you have 2 copies of each ingredient. Discarding 1 is fine, though you should not be the one discarding it. Your opponents have a way to discard it, so you should always play it as soon as you get it. You also have Black Magic to retrieve it from the discard pile if it does hit the mirror, or your second ingredient, because the tomes can hit ingredient, which is very unfortunate. But really, you should be playing the ingredient you get from the tomes as soon as you draw it. Moving on to her heroes. Snow White is the hero you have to defeat to win the game. She has 4 strength and gains 1 strength for every hero in the realm. This means she can go up to a 4, 5, 6, 7 because of Dopey's ability, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That means you're going to need a lot of poison. Plus, pickaxes, which can add 2 strength per pickaxe. And the Wishing Well, which, whenever you move to that location, reduces your poison by 1. We're going to talk a little bit more about poison in just a second with Happy. But for now, let's move on to Doc. Doc is the only other hero that you have to defeat if he ever comes out. He acts as a taunt. Evil Queen must defeat Doc before defeating other heroes. So it can be extremely annoying if he is played when you're about to win the game. And he can also be Love's First Kiss. Love's First Kiss removes a poison and places a hero back on top. If Doc is placed on top of Snow White, it can take you many turns to 1, get over there and defeat Doc, 2, move away, and then 3, move back, at which point your opponent has plenty of time. Instead, what you should be doing is using this nifty Move a Hero action to move Doc away from Snow White and hopefully straight to you at the laboratory, defeating him there. And then even if a Love's First Kiss comes out, you still have another turn before Doc comes onto the realm, and you can use that turn to go defeat Snow White. Now let's talk about Dopey. Dopey allows all other heroes in Evil Queen's realm to get 1+1 strength. What this means is that it is 2 strength if Doc comes out because Snow White and Doc, and 3 strength if Doc comes out again. Dopey is 3 strength. So personally, I think it could be worth it to take a bite out of Dopey if he comes out decently early. Obviously, if you're about to win, do not take a bite out of Dopey if it puts you below the poison needed to defeat Snow White, or if you lose the take a bite to defeat Snow White. However, if you think you're going to be Doc cycled with Love's First Kiss, defeating him early can save you a lot of poison in the long run. He also gives +1 strength to Grumpy and Happy, which means they would no longer be able to be moved with Scream of Fright. So defeating Dopey is very useful. Next up, we have Bashful, a simple 2 strength dwarf. Bashful increases the cost of the Brew Poison action by 1 power. This doesn't matter all too much, since you should be brewing all your poison at the very end in 1 turn, specifically because of him. So it's only a 1 power loss. But if you have the poison from Jealousy and the Throne, it could be pretty nice to get those top actions back, no longer have to worry about the 1 power you'd be losing every time you brewed poison. It can be nice. Then you have Sleepy. When Sleepy is revealed during a Fate action, both cards can be played. Notably, it's can and not must, since he still doesn't bring out Snow White. And really, the only reason you would defeat him is to get those top actions back, and he's not too bad to defeat. Grumpy uh, is also a hero you would only defeat to get those actions back, but he is 3 strength on his own, +1 strength if he's the only hero at his own location. So he's a lot more expensive to take a bite, but it's just really not a great idea to use those resources with him when you could just be using those resources for Snow White or not take a bite, I'm sorry, Alfixia to move him away from where you need him to be. And last we have Happy and Sneezy, the 2 dwarfs you should absolutely never defeat. Happy, when he is played, reduces Evil Queen's poison by 1 for every hero in the realm, including him. So at least 1, and up to 8. This is another reason why you brew all your poison in one go at the very end. So save up all that poison. Of course, it depends on the game, but it is nice to have 3 to 4 poison so you can instantly deal with Doc and then go straight to Snow White. But Happy, if he comes out early, you just want to deal with him on the board, and that's pretty much it. Sneezy will discard an item at his location. What this means for you as Evil Queen is that you should stack all of your items at 1 location. I recommend the woods, so you can use the Move a Hero action and Scream of Fright to move all your heroes into the woods. If Sneezy hits your magic tomes, that's unfortunate, but you do have an extra copy. If you've already discarded that extra copy, don't worry about it, but you might have the other one coming up. If he hits the throne, that's really not too bad. But if he hits the mirror before you've activated it, it is good to just black magic it back. If he hits the magic mirror after you've activated it, don't worry about it. It's just a little card draw you've lost. And then we have the woodland creatures, where your opponent gets to look at your hand and discard a card. First of all, it's bad because they're going to discard an important card. Maybe an ingredient, the mirror, a take a bite if it's your last one. Which brings us to another important point. They get to see exactly what you are planning to do. So, woodland creatures can be devastating. Make sure to play everything that you need to play as soon as you get it. And that's it for the cards. Now let's walk through these locations. We have the laboratory, a pretty good location for mid to late game. Gaining one power, not amazing, but moving a hero very much is. This is the best place for Alfixia. Maybe take a bite if it's dopey, bashful. Doc, of course. And that move a hero allows you to combo that simple wood hero to laboratory, instantly take a bite. And now you're only one turn away. The play a card, good for gaining power or taking a bite. Fading, always handy. Always handy to be doing a whole bunch of stuff on your turn and fading. And the laboratory is the only place in your realm where you can brew poison. So you're going to have to come here at least once during the game. The woods is probably your worst location. Gain 2 power and activate at the top. Pretty good and worth it to Alfixia that it's blocked and you have it in hand. But you really come here for the discard. Evil Queen needs to mill through her deck to get those 5 cards as soon as she can. So getting there with discard action is very good. Then you have the Mine, your combo action with 2 player cards, 3 power, and your activate. You can just go there with 2 power in hand to instantly play and activate the mirror. You can also play the tomes. You can play Black of Night to activate the tomes again. And if you have another Black of Night or Thunderbolt, you can use it to activate the tomes again. That is a whopping 12 cards over a third of your deck that you have just milled through. You can also use the Black and Knight to gain that power needed to defeat Snow White or Doc, because, as stated before, they can get pretty strong. Really, not only is the mine good for the milling, it's flexible to get the power you need. Maybe move heroes with your Scream of Fright. It's really flexible for whatever you need at the moment. Then you have the Dwarf's Cottage. Starts the game locked, but is unlocked once you have the 4 ingredients. The top discard is good for, once again, more milling. But, of course, you're going to have your ingredients, so good to find the mirror. Or the take a bite. But the best thing about the Dwarf's Cottage is the fate. Since Evil Queen only has 1 fate action before it is unlocked, she is not going to be fading all that much. Also, that 1 fate action is at the worst place for her to mill through her deck and find her ingredients. So eventually, whenever you come over here, if it's not blocked from Snow White that you've placed there with the mirror, it's a good idea to get some fading in at that time. And then you have your play a card and gain 1 power. And that's going to be it for Evil Queen. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Thanks for watching.